Human Alliance was great, and it reminds me of Alternators a bit with the designs and some of the play patterns, the opening doors and the full interiors and all that stuff. Right here I have 3 of them. They are not complete, but the toys themselves, the main reason you buy them, they're complete. So I'm going to talk about them and why I think you should get them. What I'm missing are the humans and the missiles and Jazz's bike. The Jazz's bike is somewhere in the house, but I could not find it because everything's still packed away. So here we got Bumblebee, Jazz, and Roadbuster, and I'm going to start off with Roadbuster. Roadbuster here to me doesn't look the greatest. The head looks odd, the proportions are off, the legs are really wonky, and the feet make him hard to stand because he doesn't actually have heels. You can fold the spoiler out the back to give him heels, but it kind of works. I'm honestly not the biggest fan of this design, of this toy. It feels clumsy and awkward. I mean, I don't know what else to say about this toy other than it feels weird. I like Roadbuster's design, but this particular figure isn't the greatest. Posing it is okay, but those feet make posing this thing a huge chore. It honestly is not the greatest, and I don't like posing it. I don't like the robot mode at all. Like it looks fine, but getting it to stand and look decent in a pose is difficult. And that just makes this thing really annoying in robot mode. On to Bumblebee. Bumblebee is great. This has to be one of my favorite Bumblebee toys. The only issue I have with it is the chest pieces like to pop back into place every now and again because they're on springs, and that can be really annoying. Otherwise, it's really cool. I really like the look of this guy, and it feels solid. They all feel really, really dense and solid. The head sculpt is a bit much. Like, I think it's too big and wonky, but he does have the flip down face shield, so that's really neat. He's also tall, so if you're into scale, none of these figures are for you. But if you're fine without the whole scale thing, you don't care, then yeah, these are actually really good. You can flip out seats on his arms, and he has this little gun under it and a gun on his back, and there's just a lot of different play features. And as a whole, this toy is pretty solid and it's very nice. It also comes in black and like main black with yellow stripes like the Beast Hunter's Bumblebee, which is really epic. I really want to track down that version at some point. His posing is pretty good too. Nothing super extra, but it has the basics and it's pretty fun. Now on to my favorite Human Alliance figure and one of my favorite toys of all time. Jazz is impressive. This figure is really good, and it was really good when it came out, and it still slaps nowadays. This thing poses and looks super nice. It's really solid. Mine is missing a side window, but that's because I got this used. He also has a flip down visor, which is amazing. He came with a bike and a Lennox, and the bike turned into his shield gun, which is a really, really cool piece of weapon storage where the weapon is just another vehicle. I think that's really awesome. Not accurate, but it's really cool. This one, to me, makes me indecisive on what my favorite movie Jazz is. Because there's this, and then there's the MPM one, and they both have their strengths and weaknesses, and I like both of them. I just can't pick which one to me is better. This Jazz is a lot better for play. MPM Jazz is a lot better for display. So it all depends on what you want to go for when you're looking for a Jazz. Posing on Jazz, though, is really good. The elbows have a bunch of motion. You can orient them whichever way you want. So if you want the flat side or the thin side facing forward, it doesn't matter. He doesn't have a waist joint or ankle pivots, but again, for the time this thing came out, it's some really good posing. The arms are a little flat, like I said, which will bug a lot of people, but it doesn't bug me. I think they look really cool. The only issue with this, and on Roadbuster that I forgot to mention, is they have below the knee swivels, not thigh swivels, due to the way they transform, which is a little unfortunate. But, I mean, for me personally, these figures stand on a shelf straight anyway, so it doesn't matter. But I can see that bothering some people of them not having proper thigh rotation. All 3 of these though look great, but only really with themselves. If you're a scale nut, like I said, these won't work for you. They fit in with most displays, but with all the stuff hanging off of them for Human Alliance stuff, they don't fit really well with a lot of other figures, especially considering all of the Human Alliance toys were based off of characters that they made deluxes for to scale with the main lines, so they scale with each other, but not with anything else really. But if you're like a fan of good toys based on these robot modes alone, well, at least 2 of these are great pickups, and I definitely recommend getting them. They normally come with firing missiles and a human. The humans are okay. I'll put some pictures on the screen. Their posing would be your standard universal joints everywhere, but the thing that just makes them okay is the Y-jointed hips. Wide joints are so annoying. If you don't know what they are, it's where the universal joint is straight and it goes into the waist up as opposed to into the waist at a 90-degree angle. So trying to move the legs around is really annoying. Transforming all three though is very, very fun and interesting. You can kind of tell where everything's gonna go. Roadbuster is the most annoying to transform. Bumblebee is pretty standard. Bumblebee fair, literally nothing, not a lot different from like a normal Bumblebee, maybe in except for like the legs. But Jazz is the most interesting with the torso flip and the way the legs compress. I have not seen a Jazz transform like this before, ever. Maybe the Studio Series one kind of borrows a little bit from it, but it's the most satisfying and interesting to transform of the three. But the three of them are quite satisfying once you get all of their panels and chunks into the car shape. Cars are about Voyager size. I'm going to say that right now because I know some people are going to ask. These figures are mainly Voyager, well, old Voyager size. They're bigger than new Voyagers. And these car modes are great. Roadbuster has so much going on that it makes this car mode fun to look at. And because of how much detail there is, you can just sink your eyes into it. The doors don't line up properly with the front windshield, and that's also in the promo and stock photos. So I believe that's a problem with the actual toy. I don't know if it's like a design of the car, because I don't remember what the car looks like in the film, because I haven't seen the film in a while, but that is something that did annoy me at first when I first got it, until I saw the stock images and saw that it's the same with all of that. But for the most part, it looks really cool. I love the way that the weapon stores, the gun like pegs into the back and becomes the booster, but I have not found where the saw goes, and that's kind of annoying. But this car mode saves this figure enough for me to want to keep it. It's really cool. The car looks really nice, and it makes me want the Leadfoot now, even though the Leadfoot's just a normal one. I really want to get that Human Alliance Leadfoot. Bumblebee is a Camaro, and that's pretty much it. It's super basic. It's just a Camaro. I do like the 2009 Camaro a lot, and this one looks pretty spot on. I honestly don't know what else to say though about this guy. We've seen this car mode a billion times, and there isn't much else to talk about with it because it's just Bumblebee as a Camaro. Yay. Jazz though is great. He is covered in silver paint, which is really awesome, but it does scratch after a while, so be careful. There's a scratch on the hood of my Jazz, but again, this was used, so that came with the toy. But the car looks really, really good. It's shorter and more squat than the rest, just like in real life. Like the actual Pontiac Solstice is more shorter and squat than a Camaro. So I really, really like that. I like how they were able to make these scale really well with each other. It makes me want Skids and Mudflap too. Mine's missing a window, as I said, because it was used, but I don't mind. To me, it's just like he rolled his window down. That's how I look at it in my head, and then I can justify the window being broken off. These cars do look great, and if this was all they did, they would be epic, and I would say definitely get them, but no. Here's where the alternators comparison comes into play. They have interiors. You can open all of their doors, and they have steering wheels, dashboards, seats. Some of them even have passenger side details and things. None of these ones though, and these don't really compromise the robot modes, like at all almost. For the transformations and the actual look of the robot mode in general, they don't feel fiddly and annoying. I'm looking at you, MP44, which is a lot to say for today's official figures, because some of them today, MP44, just can't do that right. And it's just amazing how they're able to do that. For when this came out, they were a $30 price point. You're able to get full interiors, opening doors, human compatibility, and they transformed and they didn't make you want to rip your hair out. It's really, really nice and refreshing to get a figure like that. They can seat their humans, and all the humans from the Human Alliance toys, whether it be the Scouts or the normal size Human Alliance figures, they're all compatible with each other. So that's really cool. I don't know if those Japanese humans that came with the alternators, that like the GTR alternator Optimus that came with the, or Smokescreen or whatever, no, Starsaber that came with a little person, I don't know if those fit, but the Human Alliance figures from Human Alliance fit in there. I don't know about G.I. Joes either, so you could, if they're about the same size, then they'll fit, but that's just something to make note of. They don't do much else though other than sit here, but I love how they look and how they were able to get a Bumblebee or a Jazz or a Roadbuster to look this close to their on-screen model for the time, transform, and fit a human. It's still like, it still shocks me a little bit based on the stuff that we get nowadays that tries to fit humans, and they're super fiddly and annoying. And back then we were able to get these. Now granted, I haven't messed with Skids, Mudflap, Sideswipe, Leadfoot, so I don't know anything about those figures. They could be headaches, but these guys are pretty good. Do I say get these? Well, 2 of them, yes. Roadbuster is kind of meh overall, and the biggest reason is those heels, or lack thereof. He just loves to fall over. If you can find him for really, really cheap, like 20 bucks, I'd say, then yeah, I'd say get him. But I wouldn't pay more than that because he's not the greatest figure in the world. The other 2, though, are definitely things I would recommend you picking up. But that has been my look at these 3 Human Alliance figures. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I will see you next time for Perfect Effect Optimus. I know people want to see that, so that'll be next week, or this weekend. I can't speak. Goodbye.